SketchUp Sunday here, doing a radiator cover, and I've gone ahead and drawn my inner dimension. This is the outer dimensions of the radiator. This is what the ID of the cover to be, if you will. So go on here, we're gonna add a panel to this. Let's pull that out, 0.75, and I'm going to go ahead and move this to the other side. Save us a couple clicks. And then I'll draw a panel on the front as well, just to connect these together. And push in 0.75. So I'm going to miter fold this. So I'm going to delete these lines to make this kind of one component all together. So one little trick here, I want to make all this surround into a component, but I don't want the ID in it, right? So let's select all and control click, or shift click the component in the center. So now, just hide that. It's going to be our OD, the outer diameter. So now that's separated off in its own little component. I'm going to be adding a chair rail to this. One thing about a chair rail is you want to have equal reveals to your stiles and rails, despite the projection of the chair rail, right? So here we have 2 1/4 inch thick chair rail, so I space it up 2 1/4, and that gives me some space to work with. So let's go down 2 1/4 now. Because eventually I'm going to use the follow me tool, and we're going to pull that chair rail all the way around, and this little baseline here will give me a good line to follow for that. There's one more dimension we need to take into account. There is going to be a scribe style on this because I have to fit it to the wall. It's an old house, and everything has had solid white oak, riffs on white oak baseboard everywhere so far. So extra nice stuff. I don't want to damage it. Never want to damage anything, but in this case especially. So we'll go 0.75 over, because I'm going to give myself 3/4 of an inch off the back of this. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and move this up to the origin, make snapping just a little easier. Alright, so here we go. We got our scribe styles allowed for in the back, and we have an allowance at the top for our chair rail. So now we're ready to start doing our stiles and rails. So I'm going to use our offset tool. I know my stock is 1 3/4 inches, but I forgot to take into account the bottom. Because this guy is so short, usually where I do like a 4-inch kick, I'm just going to do a 2-inch kick. Because the others I've done so far are, full like 30-inch, 36-inch radiator covers. So that's going to give me room to put a toe kick around this. Alright. So now we are ready to do our stiles and rails. I know my stock is 1 3/4 inches, and for planning's sake, I'm just gonna push those in through. My little program for screen recording cut us off there, so I'm gonna restart this because this is an important part. Draw yourself a rectangle here and triple click, make it a component. I'm going to call it a style because that's what it is. And we're going to hit move with the M key, control click to copy it, and we're going to make one over here. Now I'm going to go / it's hiding under your question mark down there by the shift key, / the number of divisions you want. So I wanted 3 divisions. It's 1, 2, 3, and those are 3 equal divisions. Yeah, I don't even want to cop to how much time I wasted doing that when I first was doing millwork. But hey, we're here now, right? No. So that's a fun oopsie. I forgot that I'm in a component right now, and this is not in it, though it should be. So I'm going to hit Control X to cut those, and I'm going to enter my component, double clicking, then we're going to go Edit, paste in place. So that merged the geometry of these. Now these are still components, so I'm going to go ahead and explode those so that I can putz around with that geometry some more. And could have used an eraser there, but you probably have a better way of doing it too. There's a website actually, frankdon'tcare.com. You can go there and that'll give you instructions if you have an opinion about things. Okay. So, now I have my stiles and rails. What I like to do when I do these, I make a little detail on this furniture base. Push that all the way through, and then I push that back, 1/4 inch. When I make these in the field, I actually just take my bottom piece here, that stretcher, and I cut it at an angle, and then whatever it ends up at, that is that's the angle I go with, because then I have 2 pieces already made. You gang them together at that point, and you can flush trim them, sand them, plane them, whatever the heck you want to do. So yeah, when I'm doing these in the field, I just scoop my 3/4 inch material back 1/4 inch and just let it overhang. When I'm doing it in the shop, I can actually plane down some material to 1/2 inch and use that. It's a little bit nicer way to do it. But here to the center and to this, oopsie, and it's going to lock onto the midpoint there. So push that out of the way and back 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch, and I'll erase these little doohickeys here just to tidy things up, keep it clean. Alright, so yeah, looking pretty good right now, right? So at this point, that's pretty much something I could build from right now if I wanted. But I also have a chair rail that's going on this, and I want my stiles and rails to have equal reveal all the way around. So my chair rail I know is 2 1/4 inches. So what I'm going to do, enter that component again, I'm going to hit the bottom edge of my top rail and push that, and I know that my chair rail is 2 1/4 inch tall, so I'll come down here, and while I'm pushing I can refer to that face. That'll make them flush. So there, and go all the way around. And there we have that. I'm going to use the follow me tool here in a minute, so I want to have a line, this path drawn in the component. Pretty much just take that line all the way across and around, and that's the height of my chair rail. Chair rail is not a sprung molding, so it's just the flat height and perspective. Now I have gone ahead and drawn the line art of this, and just quickly I'll show you. If you have to make this from scratch, you can do that pretty easily. So let's pretend this is a square molding. We're just going 2.5 by 2.5, or we saw that tangent line pop up, so that lets us know we're square. And I'll take the midpoint of that. I'm going to draw an arc. And so this is a supporting pediment, so it's all going to be kind of angling back like this. If you want to learn more about moldings, there's some great books out there. I think The Theory of Moldings, but I want to say George Ellis is my favorite. You can really learn a lot very quickly just by basically doing everything George Ellis says. But yeah, that's how you get that profile. From there you can make it a component and rotate it around where you want it and all that stuff. But for brevity's sake, I'm going to go to Tools. I'm going to go to Follow Me. And I'm going to make it follow us. Oopsie. Alright. And take 3. Alright, follow me. And you can see it kind of knows where it wants to go. Until it doesn't. You see how this could get out of hand kind of quickly. It really eats the processing cycles, man. You got multi-threading going. You're going to be clicking away, man, on that CPU or your GPU. Anyway, so I got my scribe style here. I have my molding, and the way I've been doing these, I don't always do them this way, is I've been putting a cap on top. So we'll go like here, and go ahead and push that up 0.75. I think I was doing more like these are more like 3/8. I was using 1/4 inch and doorstop rabbited out, I think is what I did. Anyway, let's pull that out 1/2 inch and pull it out 1/2 inch. Okay. So yeah, I'm just about there. I'll go ahead and pull in my perimeter. I was using doorstop, so 1.25 inch, I think, something like that. So I'm gonna have to come in, 3/4 inch here, because that's going to get scribed off the back. You see, it's a lot easier to keep all this stuff in your head when you're sitting in a chair in a climate-controlled room and not in the middle of a construction site. But yeah, so we'll go down 1/4 inch. And, just for giggles, we could always do a little miters here. And this did have a radius on it. It's just you know, eased edge door stop. So we'll come down here and put a little radius on that back edge. And so I'm pulled up here and keyed on that, but I want to add more segments to this radius. You've got to remember everything in SketchUp is polygons. So you're not really making a circle, you're making a highly faceted polygon. You dig? So use follow me tool again, and this thing will just, you know, follow you to hell and back. So you really got to watch it. But yeah, you see I added a radius here. You know, and I want to soften that edge. I had divide instead. I want to soften it. Yeah, that makes the line quality, you know, it takes the light a little better. Instead of it being a hard edge, I think it just sort of divides it a little bit more. But yeah, so triple click that, gonna cut, gonna go in this component, and we're gonna edit, paste in place. And that, my friends, is your radiator cover. If you're doing inset like metal sheet panel or something like that, you could stop there. I'm actually doing panel molding in this as well, so I'll go ahead and show you that. And that'll be the last thing we cover. So this panel molding, you know, as I said before, I'm going to actually pull the profiles in on jobs that I'm speccing the actual moldings for. And it's particularly frustrating when you're doing small moldings. But eventually it straightens up and flies right. So yeah, this is just what my local yard calls a cabinet molding. It's just the inside panel molding kind of guy. So yeah, that could become frustrating after a while. Yeah, I'm going to go with that and move on with my life. Yeah, I messed something up, but so you can actually grab your move tool and you can move some of these things around. That's a little more pleasing to the eye. My eye, at least. Anyway, I'm going to let that go. Triple click that. And I'm just going to leave this. Oh yeah, let's make it a component. Alright. So Now, I'm going to duplicate this and just have it go, you know, piss off somewhere out here. So I'm going to need it in a minute, but I don't need it yet. But then this one, I'm going to explode it. I'm going to use the follow me tool. The tool will allow me to just pull this around the inner perimeter. Now that that is, you know, exploded. I have to actually go into the component first. So edit, paste in place, and I'll use the follow me tool. There we go. See? Pretty tidy there. So that kind of gives you an idea what that molding will look like. And yeah, you can go around and do all of them like that. It's a little tedious doing a whole job of moldings like this, but you could see how it can save your closing rate, you know, quite a bit. And if you have all your panels kind of equally sized like this, because we used our equal division tool, you're going to save yourself a lot of effort in potentially doing this. There we go. Had to explode the component, so tools, follow me. We're going to go all the way around this perimeter, if it'll let us. This is probably the most frustrating tool in all of SketchUp to use. But when it works, boy, it can do something pretty special. I mean, how cool is that? You can select all of this here. I really should clean that up before I go moving it around, but I think we can get away with it here. So yeah, that's pretty slick there. So if we can do the same trick over here, I'll be done. Move here. Just gonna have it fuck off over here somewhere. We're gonna flip it along a component's green direction. So that takes us over here. And it's already reversed for us. So now when I move it into place, it just snaps right in. I'm not going to say this doesn't take practice, because oh boy it does. But once you get it down, you got it down. And we are going to paint it all white, because this is America and doing interior millwork and everything has to be white or you're a bad person. So yeah, obviously a few things to clean up if I were really worried about this being a pristine model, but the beauty of it is this is actually just for my own drawing, partially to teach you guys, and partially for me to build off of. So well, I'm not going to clean that up completely, but yeah, anyway, I hope that helps. From this point I would be taking this into so now I'm in layout. I said send to layout from the file menu in SketchUp. And you notice my line quality is not great, so first thing I'm going to do is turn off raster and go to hybrid. So you have a few different render modes, hybrid, raster, vector. Smarter people than me can tell you the actual differences. I just know when I use both modes together, it looks a lot better to me. So when I'm doing drawings for a client, I always do an isometric view as my first. Kind of gives you an idea of what the thing actually looks like in space. And then I duplicate that page. So now I'm in. I already have the drawing in here, and I have it in hybrid mode already. So it saves me a couple steps. So if you double click, you're back in SketchUp basically, and you're moving around the model. But you have a few advantages here. I turn perspective off. I'm going to go standard views, and that would be right. So you got your standard views here, so that's pretty cool. We're going to duplicate that, and I want to keep that axis the same because it's going to help me do what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to go to front, and I'm being careful not to click into the model again. Because this is going to keep everything in the right scale. So I could have been smart and kept this all in the right plane, so that my front would actually be the front of the object, but you know, that's okay. There, another copy behind it. So these are basically my dimensions. This is all just kind of eyeballed together. But then I can take this view, copy it again, and we want to do a top view. And notice how it twisted that around. I want to do a top relative view. There. And we can also do a bottom relative view. Alright, cool thing about keeping everything proportioned like this is now when I go into dimension it, when I dimension one view, it also counts for the other one. Kind of see what I'm saying there. The outside of that panel depending on what it locks onto. Will determine how well your measurements show up, which can be a little confusing and frustrating sometimes. So now we're dimensioning, and you notice when I did this vertical measurement here, it caused something to change. The text rotated around. That's this feature here. All kinds of good formatting options here. Just play with them at your leisure. And I want to make that my default. So now when I'm back in the dimension tool, it's always going to stay vertical no matter what plane I'm pulling this in. So yeah, let's see, my side view measurements are going to line up with my front view. And I try to dimension as little as possible, really, because it just gets cluttered after a bit. Height, overall width, all that's the same. I'm not going to measure off this chair rail because I don't need to go off of it, but I will make a note that I designed this to be off of 2 1/4 inch profile. That way, if I was wrong, I can make some simple adjustments to correct it. And I also want to call out that I made a scribe style there. And we'll also do this. Make a note that my ID is this. Just in case. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So you save this. You can make this anything you want, obviously. But I'm going to call it radiator cover, and I'm just going to save it in my documents folder. And notice it populates down here. I set this template up myself, brought my logo in. It has all these fields you can populate. Kind of cool. And I'm going to export this to a PDF. I find it prints a lot better as a PDF. And I keep the box check to pull it up in Acrobat or whatever your PDF viewer is. So yeah, from here I'll just print this out. Then I'll have shop drawings ready to work off of. Anyhow, I hope that helps.